Hello! Today's stories come from r/entitled parents. Today we have two family dramas with multi-year updates that have recently gotten final updates. These are all Am I the Butthole transplants that won't leave you guessing how they made it to entitled parents. Let's dive in with our first story. Am I the butthole for buying my fifth property rather than helping out my siblings? For context, even when I, a 44-year-old male, was a child, I was incredibly into owning property and designing houses. I work as an architect and am doing quite well for myself. Bought my first duplex here in Germany a long time ago where I rent out both parts. Then I own two houses in Italy and one in Spain. Two of them are getting rented out as holiday homes, while the last one I use for vacations and rent out a room to a friend of mine. So I have a lot of passive income at the moment, but only after a lot of time and money investments and refurbishing of these houses. I rent in New York City at the moment as my job has moved me here temporarily. My brother is a 48-year-old male and has an apartment. He has a family with two kids while my wife and I are childless. They are currently looking to purchase a house that fits all of them nicely. While they have found their dream house, it's out of budget for them. Meanwhile, my wife and I are about to buy our fifth house, this time in France. It's going to be one of our largest purchases yet, significantly larger than anything else we have done. It's a great deal on the property, however, and ideally what my wife and I want to retire in. When having a family FaceTime with my siblings and parents, I brought it up. Initially very happy for me, my brother mentioned how he needs a larger home for his family and how I should give up on this opportunity to give him money for his house and spend the rest on refurbishing their new home. I just laughed and said flat out, no. Edit. Thought this was a joke. This was apparently the wrong move. My entire family turns against me and starts berating me. After 10 minutes of them taking turns telling me to buy my brother a house, I said I'd think about it and left. I'm a bit of a pushover, so after talking to my wife, we agreed we could wait and buy their house and rent it out to them at no profit. Apparently, this was insulting to him, having his younger brother be his landlord, and my parents said I should just outright give him the money we have been saving. I told him to piss off and started moving forward with the paperwork on our house in France. After talking to my friends, they said I should put family first, and it's not like we are struggling for money. Now I am confused. Am I the butthole? Edit. This edit is super late, but I want to clarify my brother does have money for a 4-bedroom house. He isn't broke, just not enough money for his dream house. The dream house is approximately double as expensive. Update 1. My wife and I discussed and thought you guys deserved an update after the clarity I received from my initial post. It feels therapeutic for me. It's been a bit of a wild month since then. We took in a lot of your advice regarding the situation, but it ended up even more chaotic than I expected. Shortly after the post, and when the pandemic in New York got worse and worse, I ended up back in Spain. After having a conversation with my friend and this post, I decided I had made the right choice. We are moving forward with a house in France currently. Furthermore, we are deciding to sell the two Italian homes. We realized we haven't been there ourselves in a long time, and it was only being rented out. This decision was twofold. Couldn't get some of the remarks from last post out of my head, and we wanted some liquidity given the economy. We also decided to only list with local real estate companies. On to my brother, who turned out not to be telling us the whole truth. A week after the post, his wife calls me asking to reconsider. Turns out there was a reason, but my brother didn't want to tell me. So I told her either he tells me himself or I won't even consider anything. A week later, he ends up calling and tells me everything. It turns out he had developed a bit of a gambling problem the last 2 years and has taken a noticeable percentage out of their savings gambling. Less than 40%, but more than 15% according to him. The dream house was now a lot further out of reach than it was meant to be. Apparently, he has been going to therapy for it for months, but the financial damage it did set them back far. My parents knew since the start, and I knew my brother was having marital problems a couple of years ago, but I never asked why, as he and his wife were very secretive about details. Turns out this was the problem. Apparently, my parents had told him to ask me, but ask too much from me. So when he rebutted with a smaller ask, I would be more inclined to accept. Had an incredibly harsh conversation with my parents. They feel like I owe the family and it's more their money than mine since they raised me. That's a whole different problem. I told him about the post and he was mad at first but understood my position after reading through it. After a pretty difficult conversation with him, I offered the rent at cost, and once he has built up his savings, we will sell him the house minus any rent he has paid over the time it takes. Some people mention this rent to own. He happily accepted. And now it's today. Hopefully, we can have a reunion after the pandemic is over and laugh about this. Edit. A lot of people are worried about the legalities. I am having my lawyer draft it up. Everything will be in writing. Update 2. For the most part, I think the last 2 years have been overall crappy. Pandemic related issues, but also due to my brother's actions. We ended up selling our business to a different firm in Germany. Pandemic made it difficult for us to set up our sourcing, and after not working on any projects for a couple months, we decided to pull the plug when we got an offer. Not really doing anything since that, but we sold it at a profit, so going to explore our options for a while. Before we sold it, my brother and his wife ended up divorcing, as did my mother and my father. I mentioned prior that my father had a gambling addiction when we were younger, and that my parents' reaction to the whole mess confused me at the time. It turns out that my mother had forced my father to give his entire paycheck and some, so he had turned to gambling by her suggestion. She is a very holier than thou type of person, so to hear she suggested gambling was insane to me. But it turns out she is inherently very financially abusive. They almost divorced in the past, but she stopped pestering my father as much. He thought she had become better. But it turns out that good things never last, and when my brother started working, she started demanding similar things. And apparently, later using me as reference, that I too had been sending her money, and my success was driven by the motivation to provide to myself and her. I moved abroad quite early, so my one on one connection with my brother was limited. She later pushed him onto gambling, and he fell headfirst. After the house situation, he had stopped for a couple of months but relapsed pretty quickly with local gambling machines. Then switched to buying prepaid cards to gamble online again. My father claims to have had no idea it was occurring, but he was plenty happy with vacations paid by a stay at home wife. His pressure on me to buy him a house? He filed for divorce, but I blame him equally at this point. My brother's wife filed for divorce shortly after it all came to light. Only once she filed did he tell her about what our mom was doing. I reached out to him to provide support, but he told me to get lost and never speak to him again. He lives with his girlfriend now and still gambles according to his wife. His wife is still in the house. We have stopped payments. She already worked part-time, but I don't want to cut into her expenses. I guess the only good thing is cheap interest rates on that mortgage. I've cut contact with both my father and mother, and I guess got contact cut by my brother. I feel like my father divorced my mom in hopes I would take him in. We have since moved into our house here in France. I am still not a fan of French people, but I guess I brought this upon myself. My wife is thriving here, and with a retired or unemployed life, I have mostly been on Reddit or in my workshop. I think a combination of boredom, the pandemic, and my lost faith in my family have disenfranchised me a bit. Been wanting to provide an update for about a year since we sold the company, but after the family news. I was always hoping for some good twist or good news here at the end. Reading my original post back, I feel like I had a tendency to focus on my own problems. How everything that happened to me was one of life's many trials. But I realize now that often you are just a side character in other people's trials, and your success has more to do with the right time and the right place. Anywho, bit off tangent here, just providing an update for those who follow me on here. Thanks to those who provided support, and thanks to those who helped open my eyes. I can't believe OP's mom expected him to basically burn his money by giving it to his brother to fund his gambling habit. Absolutely ridiculous. She's a real piece of work. Offering a rent-to-own option was plenty generous in my opinion. Let's check out the best comments from the Best of Redditor sub where the full story was covered since we didn't stop for each update. Mom of Panda Lover said, "Don't get the mom pushing her husband and son into gambling. Did she think that would make them more money?" Bubblegum Cloud replied, "Either that, or she knew they'd blow the money, and when they came running to her for more, she held the strongest strings, aka more money." Dr. JJ Hu shared, "Good explanation from you, Sean Stu below. Mother was insisting she get to spend his father's entire paycheck and even more on top, so he turned to gambling so he could afford to give her what she demanded and still live. When the brother started working, she insisted he give her lots of money as well, and told the brother that OP was doing that so he should too. So in order to give mom money and still afford a family, brother started gambling too. Basically, both father and brother decided it was better to gamble than say no to OP's mother. Como Malamo shared, I'm not sure how the family thought saying, "We have no money for a house because of a gambling addiction" was the right follow up to, "Give me money to buy a house." It made them go from entitled to entitled and stupid. OP seems to be doing well financially, so it was nice that he was able to find a reasonable way to help his brother's family, even if the brother has left the picture. Violets and Lily added, "Tale as old as time. Your money is my money because family." Red Phantom said, "And of course, it's always a one-way street with these kind of people. When they need help, it's all family comes first. But when you need help, get lost, freeloader." Republic of Lizard shared, "I love the offhand remark at the end about not liking French people. What is it that puts him off? How did he not know about it before moving there?" Someone else said, "I laughed out loud at that. He is still not a fan of French people, so he knew he didn't like them going into buying in France and still bought and doesn't like them? Like living with them was going to change that like exposure therapy?" King's daughter said, "His wife likes it. Sounds like this was her dream more than his." Our second story is another example of peak entitled parents. It asks, "Am I the butthole? Dad gave the business to brother, so I left. My older brother, 30-year-old male, went to university and then worked in the city as an accountant. I'm a 27-year-old male, stayed to work for my dad as a plumber at 15 and went to college to get my qualifications in plumbing and gas. About the time the virus started, my brother moved back from the city and started working for my dad, 55-year-old male, in accounting. My dad has been unwell for the last 4 years due to asbestos. It has been really hard on the family and he is getting worse, but is still loving life. I have been running the business for the last 2 years. We have expanded and now have 50 vans in the fleet, and one qualified and one trainee allocated to each van. The pandemic was hard in the beginning, but we have bounced back. My dad still works on tools with me on Fridays. Half day, then back to my place for some beers. Friday is the only day I'm on tools now as I'm doing everything to run the business. Well, last month he told the family he is stepping down from the business due to health and wants to spend more time with my mother and is giving the business to my brother and for me to step down from acting CEO. This upset me. I've been with the business for 12 years. At the beginning, it was only me and my dad. My brother never wanted to be in the business, said it was not worth his time, and now he's the boss? And I've been dumped back to a heating engineer with a 20,000-pound pay cut. He doesn't have any clue what we do or how to do it. I spoke to my dad, and he told me that my brother deserves it for all he has done, that he has a family and I don't, and that he went to uni. A lot of the workers are upset about the decision and have told me they will go where I go. I told my dad that if that is how he feels, then I will leave and start my own business. I have not spoken to my dad or brother since, and have told them to never contact me. For the last month, I've had thousands of calls and messages from family saying some very hurtful things and telling me I'm ungrateful for what I have. So am I the butthole? Edit. I want to say thank you to everyone for your kind words. There are so many to reply to. I will do my best to thank you all. To hear my father tell me in his own way he doesn't think I'm good enough was hard. And for my family to take his and my brother's side was even harder. In the morning, I will contact the large clients I've worked with over the last 6 years. I know we had some site postponed due to the virus, big money, and we'll try and take them over. I have 20 of my colleagues wishing to come work for me, and I've saved nearly all of the money I have earned over the last 12 years, so think I have enough to get myself on my feet. Update. I want to inform everyone that I'm not starting a business to destroy my brother. As much as I want to, I've spent almost 13 years building it, and I don't want to see anyone out of a job or for the business to die. It's about 0500 in England. You have all helped me so much. I will be going over to talk to my father about 0800 and take him out for breakfast and talk. I'm not sure if I will get a proper answer from him, but I love my family and want my future kids to know them. I will update after the events of later today. Update 2. As I said in one of the comments, I believe my family had found my post, and they did. This morning when I arrived at my parents' house, my mom opened the door and looked like she had been crying a lot. My dad came over to talk to me, and we went out for breakfast. He didn't say a word on the way there or when we arrived. When on the way back, he asked if we could pull over and talk. I can honestly say this was the first time I saw my dad cry. I asked why he did this to me. He said he didn't know. I kept pushing, and he finally told me he owed it to my brother for not being about for him as much as me when we were growing up. And there were times my brother needed him, but he was working. I couldn't believe it after 12 years of hard work that this was his reasoning. I told my father I had spent half my life working to do everything for the business, and how he threw me to the side just because his son came back hurt more than I could explain. He told me he knows as they had been shown the post I put up. To my surprise, he wasn't mad. He seemed remorseful. He told me my mother had been in pieces after reading the comments about how bad she treated me and thinks I will never talk to them again. My dad told me after reading it all, he realized he should have split the business between us, as it will need both of us to keep progressing, and apologized to me for never telling me how proud he was of everything I had done, and thought I knew how proud he was. But my brother has full control. My father has no say anymore, and my brother would never go 50-50. He told me he wants me to go back, as my brother will need me. I told him that's not my problem anymore. After he demoted me and cut my pay, I tried to make it work for 3 weeks, but my brother wouldn't listen, didn't believe I knew what I was talking about, telling me he knows how to run a business. So I left. Why work my behind off there when I could do the same work and make more money for myself? My dad broke down, said that he had destroyed the family and should never have done what he did. I don't understand why I took this long to realize I was a valuable piece in the company. Update 3. As I said, I have had a couple of Zoom calls with some clients today and they have gone very well. I have been informed that they will be sending me signed proposal letters for the up and coming work. Lucky, the site start dates don't clash. That was one of the main things I was worried about. 3 of my colleagues have now left the business and have spoken to my dad, informing him about why they left and that they will be coming to work with me under their own choice. To hear them tell me this meant a lot. They all have between 5 to 10 years more experience in the industry. At the moment, I have all we need to start a new business with the 3 vans I own and tools I have built up over the years. I am looking forward to the new venture in my life and can't wait to share this with my children when I have them. Then I received a call from my father, asking me to come over for dinner. I was unsure at first, but thought it was probably a step in the right direction. On arrival, my whole family was there. I went in, and the atmosphere dropped. My mom wouldn't look at me, and my brother just sat there acting as if I didn't exist. My dad came and asked me and my brother to come into his office. He started to ask when I was going to return to the company as they need me in early Monday morning. I could not even believe what I was hearing. I told them both I'm not coming back and have started my own company. And what does he mean you gave the business to him, my brother? My brother started to lose his temper, telling me, if I cared about the company, why would I leave? I have some very choice words before telling him that I have always cared for the company and spent 12 years of my life working to make it successful, unlike him, who swans in and takes all the glory, and that I will not sit there and be treated like that. I told my brother to get lost so I could talk to Dad. I asked what this morning was all about, telling me he's sorry, but then expecting me to go running back. He couldn't even look me in the eye, so I left, said goodbye to my cousin, nieces, and nephews, and walked out. I've been writing for about 3 hours on and off, coming back on here to talk to people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the personal messages, comments, rewards, and all the kind words and encouragement. I'll try and message everyone, but I'm exhausted and will most likely fall asleep. Final update. Sorry, it's been a while. I've had a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. I'll try and explain the most I can. So the new business is going very well. We have a lot of work coming in and making good money. At the end of the year, I will be looking at expanding, so very happy with that. Me and my fiancé are very happy. She is very busy planning the wedding of her dreams. She wants me to wear a suit, but tough luck, I'll be in my kilt. I couldn't be happier than I am right now, waking up to her every day. She is there for me no matter what and has been my rock through everything. Then, my family, my father and brother still refuse to talk to me and have told me they will not be attending the wedding, even though they haven't been invited. My mother has called my fiancé but hasn't said much, only to ask about wedding stuff and will not talk to me. My fiancé's family have been amazing. My soon-to-be in-laws have been helping with the wedding and everything else, and I am extremely thankful for everything they have done for us. My other family have now backed off and apologized and want to make amends for everything that was said. Myself and my fiancé are set to have our wedding in November. We sat down together and have decided to try to have children after we are married. We are both excited to be parents. What a slap in the face. Poor OP. I can't help but think there's something else going on here, but maybe it's just me. How is it that a skilled tradesperson can completely disregard the honor his son has bestowed upon him, not only in taking up the same trade, but in building and preparing to take on the family business? And not only that, to take it a step further and value the college education of his other son more? It's shocking. Good on OP for applying his skill, determination, and work ethic into rebuilding his own life. Now let's check out some funny comments about accountants running businesses. Chillifrix shared, if your employer cuts your pay and gives you a demotion, they are essentially asking you to resign. There's really no other way to interpret that. For the family to then say, but we thought you'd stay, makes me think the other son has been the favorite all along. There's really no other explanation for the level of delusion the parents and brother must be under to think this guy would and should continue to work for the business after the pay cut and demotion. Scrooge Scourge said, I have done business with trades companies run by accountants. They never got my business more than once. They make the employees miserable and can't keep the good ones on the payroll. Brother will crash and burn. And for them to think it was okay to demote OP and give him a 20K pay cut after investing 12 years of his life in the family business, the brother has a rude awakening coming to him when he crashes and burns. Wind River 7 said, that's why accountants don't start companies. They are the hired help that helps the company founders manage the finances. That weird girl added, I'm accountant, can confirm. We are generally not great with people and prefer to just crunch numbers alone in our office. Our Ratliff 82 said, I'm accountant, started a business, but it's an accounting business. Does great, would be a bad plumber. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.